The national championships were meant to happen last year. We've got to the stage now where we have more than one decent athlete or one high-level athlete to represent the country, and it's come to the stage where we need a national champion. We need that number one, that ranked person, who's going to be the number one for the year. Before, what we used to do was have a squad session, and the most senior type of player or the most experienced player took a position. But now we have a lot of senior players, a lot of experienced fighters. So we needed a national championship. It was meant to happen last year, but COVID killed it. And the national championship is something that is well needed. It doesn't matter what people have done before. Conor McGregor, Neil Series, Paul Redmond's, Cahill, Pender's, all these guys in the UFC. There's never been a proper national champion, a proper association backed by a world body. You are going to be the first national champion. First, second, third ever, or even just to compete in it. You're the first guys ever to compete in this. So it's actually setting in stone a level and sort of a standard that we have to reach. You've got to be the best in the country, and it's history. It's the first time it's happened. So it's a huge opportunity, and I think a lot of people don't think aren't thinking it's as big as it could be. You imagine a young fighter, in 10 years' time, and they're in the UFC, or they're coaching in their gym, or they're telling their family, I was the first ever Irish MMA champion. Now, mind all the superstars have gone before, the first ever amateur, legitimate Irish champion. It's huge. It's unbelievable, and it's something that you can never be taken away from them.
Good morning and welcome to day 2 of the IMMAA National Championships Junior and Senior. We are back again after a phenomenal day of action yesterday. My name is Paul O'Dea from Guts and Glory MMA, and I will be your host again today. On the left of your screen you have Greg O'Sullivan from Guts and Glory MMA, and we have a packed desk this morning. We have Ian O'Neill is joining us again via Zoom. How are you doing, Ian?
I'm doing great, thanks Paul.
No problem. And on the very far right of your screen you have Cahill Barrett from the Old Triangle podcast, and you have Andy Stevenson next to him and next to me from the Old Triangle podcast as well. So we're going to get right into it. We're a little bit late this morning, so we're going to get into our panel show. And I do just want to first ask about the podcast. It's a relatively new podcast. You have 3 episodes up, I believe?
Yeah, well, we've two now.
Two, yeah. The third one Ian was saying is coming this week. That's right. So
I had to look at Wheels today to make sure it was two.
You have, I suppose, how did this podcast come to be? You're on Severe platform, and Andy was saying to me before you went live that the 3 of you more have an interest in Irish MMA anyway. So is that how this kind of came to be, and how did the 3 of you decide to make this happen?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I can speak for Ian, myself, and Cahill in saying that Irish MMA is our passion. We've watched a lot of the UFC in our time, but the more I watch MMA, the more I'm getting drawn to the Irish side of things, the domestic scene, and it's something that we've been covering now for a few years. Cahill has been doing fantastic work on the amateur scene. Ian has been entrenched in Irish MMA for many years, and fought on the regional scene previously also. We've been covering it for Severe MMA for a number of years, and Cahill for IMMAF also. So it was just a natural fit, and we felt that there was maybe a bit of a gap, not in the market, but just there was an opportunity to really shine a light on Irish MMA and the local fighters.
And I suppose, is there going to be particular interest going forward in the amateur scene, or is it something you're just covering all Irish fighters across the board, from amateur from novice right through to professional level?
Maybe I'll let Quiz take this one, but it's across the board, isn't it?
Yeah, it'll be absolutely everyone. We've all I think in the last, I'd say, few months as well, we've all really gotten deep into the Irish amateur scene as well. So we've taken this big interest in it. So we're obviously going to keep covering it. We've been given coverage from the IMMAFs. We're here, even the ones on the local shows as well, and then the professionals as well, from the ones fighting in Bellator or just at Clemmons, anywhere at all in the world, we'll be covering them.
Very good. And Cahill, I suppose you were over in Abu Dhabi for the World Championships and covering that very closely. What did you take away from that experience, and kind of did it kind of spark something new in you about the amateur scene again from Ireland?
Yeah, completely. That experience alone is absolutely incredible. I can't even imagine what it was like for the fighters.
Yeah.
But to go over and watch them and the setup, the whole just everything around it was just incredible. So that really kind of has driven me, I guess, to try and cover it as much as I can, so to try and get to as many events I can, everything, and just shine a spotlight on it, which is what we're trying to do with the Old Triangle, at Severe MMA, and even here.
Very good. I have a question kind of for everyone at the desk, Greg as well, I suppose. Ian Garry and Dean Barry, they're our latest Irish fighters to make it to the UFC. If you're to look at the current crop we're looking at this weekend across the roster, is there someone you believe here that would find a home in the UFC down the road? Is there someone that stands out in your head that you believe is going to go all the way, that has that star power maybe that those guys have? I suppose, look, I'll throw it to Ian there first on the Zoom.
Well, there's a good few, basically going back to the talking about the podcast, I mean, when we're looking at the amateur scene and some of the people coming up in the men's and the women's divisions, like, there's plenty of stars coming through all the divisions, and I mean, that's what kind of sparked us and sparked the idea for the podcast, looking at the scene, looking at the talent coming through. And I guess who may not be competing today, but I guess the person who is on everybody's lips is that of Max Lally. He's the real hot prospect in Ireland right now. He's on everybody's lips, and someone that I'm really excited to see progress. I mean, Nadine Abbott-Bissett, who took gold at the IMMAFs as well, real star quality, a phenomenal fighter as well. I can see her going really, really far. Her brother Jamie is fighting today as well. So I mean, like, the crop of talent coming through right now is phenomenal. It's blown me away over the last couple of years, and it's only going to get better as well. So I mean, there's plenty of opportunities, and the talent and the level of competition that we're seeing right now in the amateur game, which is starting to trickle through to the pro game too. We've seen Ian Garry and we've seen Dean Barry getting signed to the UFC, and I can guarantee you over the next couple of years there's going to be a couple of more people that'll be signing up there as well. And without a doubt, we'll be looking at a few more future stars today and in the other coming days at these national championships as well.
For sure. And Andy, I suppose same question. Do you agree with Ian on the names he's picked, or is there anyone else that kind of stands out to you?
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about amateurs, I try to shy away from saying, amateur fighter's going to be in the UFC.
A lot of pressure on them.
Yeah, I think that the names Ian said, Nadine and Max, have a lot of potential. I think it's very easy to look at an amateur fighter and say, this guy or this woman's going to be the future. When it comes to actually making that jump and then transitioning to pro, cutting your teeth, there's a lot that goes into that, and you could have a great amateur career, but then ultimately you start again once you turn pro. So for me, I would be looking at the pro scene and saying someone like a Paul Hughes, who's Cage Warriors
very close to there already.
I think he would be the most likely next signing. But at the amateurs, one guy I'm very high on. I know I said I don't want to put pressure, but there's many. I think Jordan Fury has a phenomenal future ahead of him. Ryan Keogh. At first I would have said Ryan Keogh would have been my standout favourite for the featherweights today, but I saw Keith Keogh
threw a spanner in the works yesterday.
That's a match
it was unbelievable.
I'm buzzing for today.
Yeah, and yourself, Quilch, is there anyone, I suppose, maybe not necessarily just to make it to the UFC, but is there someone you can feel that little bit of star power off already?
So obviously it's very early to be talking about them with going into the pros, as Andy was saying, but in particular for me, I just got to see a lot of Ryan Keogh, and I've been very high on him. His run at the World Cup last year was ridiculous. He finished everyone. I think he went undefeated last year. He was very, very unlucky at the Worlds as well. He looked good, just came up short, but looking at the card today, I'd be very much high on him, and I'd be looking forward to seeing him fight every time.
And the same to you, Greg, I suppose. Is there someone in that bracket? Like, we had the benefit of being here yesterday, looking at the fights up close. Is there someone that kind of caught your eye and you feel like there's a little bit of star power about them?
Yeah, so I think just going off yesterday, really, I think Keith Keogh was probably the standout for me. I mean, we can see in the cage he has that technical ability to actually go in there and finish fights. But also what we saw off the broadcast was actually has a bit of charisma about him as well.
Yeah.
And you need that really to be a successful pro fighter. But the second person I would suggest people watch out for is actually Tristan Barnett. Simply because we saw in his fight, he has the stand-up, but he also has grappling to go along with that. And in MMA, obviously, you need a bit of everything to be successful.
and he has that little bit of Conor McGregor shine as well. After going over to the UFC 264 camp, he got his name in the news. I want to touch on as well, we have Bellator coming up next weekend in the Tree Arena. There are always huge cards around, and there's a buzz around Ireland when Bellator is coming to town. Do you think that's an added motivation to the guys here? You see some of the guys training around the gym. Danny McCormack was in yesterday. You've Brian Moore floating around the gym. Some big names like that are competing on the biggest stage next week. Do you think that's an added motivation to these guys, kind of looking forward and looking at these guys kind of going, we can make the big stage? It's right there, it's achievable.
Of course. I mean, we're seeing guys who are making their pro debuts directly in Bellator. I mean, if we look at the cage here, there's a sold-out crowd plastered on the wall, but the reality is when they make the transition to pro, and let's be honest, if they're an SBG Ireland fighter, there's a direct path into Bellator there, so they can be fighting in front of an actual crowd of 10,000 people immediately starting their career, so that's got to be in the back of their minds. But look, there's many different options out there, and I don't think they need to be focusing on, I'm going to go fight in Bellator right now. I think that just remaining active, learning their skills, and just, getting fights in is really what it's all about, and losses at the amateur level to learn.
For sure. Ian, you were on with us yesterday and you kind of caught the end of the fights. I wanted to touch on that a little bit, and I suppose after today we know who's going to be all the finalists for tomorrow, and we know who's going to be qualifying for the IMMAF Europeans. Maybe not so much the Super Cup until tomorrow, but we'll know who's qualifying for European Championships later this year. Do you think the intensity will be ramped up again today off of yesterday, or do you think that's even possible?
Oh my God, I mean, the action that we seen yesterday was unbelievable. Like, there was arm bars, there was that IMMAA choke by Keith Kyo, which was unbelievable. And I tell you, like, the intensity is half of what it was like yesterday. We're in for a treat today because, there was plenty of finishes. We got a couple of decision fights towards the end, which were all great fights. Like, I mean, you can tell the excitement of the fighters, the chance to compete in the first ever national junior and senior championships. They're really bringing it to the table here, and I'm really excited. A couple of cracking fights that are on again today, and I'm sure that we're going to see just as much action, if not better.
Yeah, for sure. And is there a particular fighter for, I suppose, all of you again, is there a particular fighter that we didn't get to see yesterday who's coming on deck today that you're looking forward to seeing?
For me, Sullivan Simon, for sure. Yeah. He's looking like the standout in that division. He's kind of he'd be the one to beat in that lightweight division. He's got all the experience. He's been abroad. He's fought abroad. He's impressed abroad as well. He's impressed locally. He'd be the one to beat in that division. I'm really excited to see him get back in there because he was very unlucky in Abu Dhabi. He looked good in the first round, and then it was unfortunate. Then he just got out wrestled. But I'm excited to see him back in there.
Very good. And for yourself, Andy?
For me, it's all about the welterweight division today. There's a man who's just walked by us there, Conor McCarthy. He's got a tough fight in his hands in Colin Maher, who's been around the scene a long time. And then on the other side of the bracket, you've Jordan Fury versus Lee McGill. Lee McGill put on a great performance yesterday. And as I said a few minutes ago, I'd be quite high on Jordan Fury. So I think we're going to see them tested. Like, Conor McCarthy had a phenomenal KO there last, was it 2 months ago maybe, in Cage Legacy, that I was blown away by. And similarly, I've seen Jordan Fury put away everyone who's stood in front of him. So I think this is going to be probably the highest level of competition they'll have each faced this weekend.
For sure. And Greg, the same to you, I suppose. Is there anyone we didn't get to see yesterday who you're looking forward to seeing?
Yeah, I think for me really it's Jamie Abbott Bissett, because just with all the experience he has, I'm really excited to see him actually fight in person and just see what he brings to the table. Very
good. Ian, the same to you?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the two middleweights that we haven't seen so far, Daniel O'Sullivan and Cameron Clemmons. I mean, they were in action yesterday. Cameron, both of them were fighting at the IMMAF Worlds. Obviously, it didn't go to plan for Cameron, but Daniel O'Sullivan, I thought, had a very good World Championships, and I'm very excited to see the two of those get in there, and that should be two very good fights in the middleweight semi-finals there. That'll be the last two fights for us today.
Yeah, before we do get to the fights, because we're close on now 10 o'clock and we're supposed to kick off at 10 o'clock for the fights, we are just going to run a little IMMAF video that we got permission to use from IMMAF, thankfully, and it's just a little explanation about what happens at the IMMAFs and at this level.
MMA is a very explosive, very dynamic sport, and is appealing to young people and can be a force for good.
Attitudes change and sports change. There are newer sports coming in that are more exciting than the ones that were previously in, and MMA is one of those sports. MMA is here to stay.
Many other sports could actually learn from IMMAF. Their ability to do this with integrity.
I run one class a week and there's about 30 women come to learn MMA. Some of them are doctors, some of them are lawyers, and they absolutely love it.
The International Mixed Martial Arts Federation is an amateur body representing amateur MMA. We've had 4 World Championships, a global calendar of events. The work that we're doing isn't just about competition, it's also about taking care of grassroots development.
It's important for a sport to have that base in terms of coach development, referees and judges that are qualified and recognised within the International Federation.
We've also recently developed a progression scheme for people that are participating in MMA for recreational purposes.
We tick all the boxes because we understand about the structure, we understand about the recognition of the sport, we understand about the regulations of the sport.
My first fight was in the Ulster Hall. Dark, and I had no idea what was going on. People drinking at the event. Probably not a really positive environment for somebody to have their first fight. The IMMAF, more professional. Massive halls, there were spectators during the day. It was really rigorous medicals every morning. And you felt like you were in a professional sporting environment.
What we're doing in terms of medical protocols is way above what any other combat sport is doing.
There is a huge culture of duty of care to those athletes.
The guy in the MRI was like, the scans that you guys are having is the highest level I've ever had of professional rugby or boxing.
We take out some of the techniques that might be considered more dangerous. Athletes aren't allowed to use elbows. They're wearing shin guards. The gloves are heavier, which actually causes less damage, less cuts and less knockouts.
It's not just accepting the minimum standards, it's looking at where we can go next. I've seen very positive reactions from so many of those athletes, male and female. They feel comfortable in an environment which is looking out for their health and their safety.
So amateur MMA is very much about national teams versus national teams.
We're currently looking at the developments of our events. Junior Worlds, Junior Europeans, we're looking at cadets. So we're building the layers from the base.
Parents are bringing their children to gyms to learn MMA, to teach those children in a safe environment.
Kids, they can look up to other athletes. It's going to just grow and grow and grow.
I've run the equivalent of a national anti-doping organisation, set up the therapeutic use exemptions, the whistleblowing line, all of those sort of things. Now, I wouldn't waste my time in working with people who regard this as lip service. I want people who are going to be serious at really wanting to set a good integrity standard.
All over the world, MMA is being done. Football is probably the only sport that's bigger than MMA right now in terms of viewing numbers.
Our vision is to be incorporated as a demonstration sport in 2028 Olympics.
We've got the format, we've got the athletes, we've got gender equality. This is a sport that ticks every single box.
Just an interesting video there from the IMMAFs that you can find out on their YouTube page. I found it quite appropriate for what we have going on this weekend, and I suppose to see the amateur and the work that goes behind the scenes at the regulations from an IMMAF level, and they're the governing body, of course, over IMMAA. Just to give a quick rundown of the running order, what we have today. Kearney McCarthy was due to be in the first fight today, but unfortunately, due to his injury he sustained yesterday in his bout, that fight will not be going ahead. So Jake and Guy will be fighting tomorrow against Aaron Henry. And in the senior bantamweight division as well, we have... Is there one fight missing from there as well? Oh no, That's all right. So senior bantamweight division is where we're kicking off the morning with Jamie Abbott-Bissett and Ross Kearney from CMAC, and that fight is going to be on deck very shortly. But before that gets in, I suppose I just want to touch on the lads. We've touched on some of the fighters that are competing today, but we look at some of the matchups. We kind of briefly mentioned it, we touched on it. Like, you have Ryan Keogh, who's one of the big standouts from previous IMMAFs, against Keith Keogh, who arguably stole the show yesterday. You have Conor McCarthy, like mentioned, a standout on the scene of late, going up against the veteran Colin Maher. I mean, if you look at the matchup, if you had a Cage Legacy card or a Clan Wars card, you're not going to get this standard of matchups the whole way throughout.
I think it's a type of format that forces fighters to go against each other. There is no, sending a contract over, do you agree to this or not? It's a case of, here's the bracket, here's your matchup, and if you win this one, you're going to fight the next guy. There's no picking and choosing here.
For sure. And Quilcha, is there a particular fight today that's on that you're very excited about, as opposed to?
There's plenty, but like some of these fights you'd pay for, pay pay-per-view for.
This
100%. Entire card you could put on a pay-per-view, and it'd be a promoter's dream. To pinpoint one in particular, I think I've already spoken about Ryan Keogh and Keith Keogh. I would agree with what Andy was saying with Jordan Fury. I'm really excited to see him actually in person and fight.
So we're just getting word there that the first fight is actually a walkover. So we're just going to bring him into the cage there in just a moment.
Mr. Andy Ryan holding court here at SBG HQ.
So I believe this is the Jake and Guy fight that they're just bringing Jake in for the walkover.
It's a pity we didn't get to see that fight. Keane, he was obviously going to be moving up today. He suffered that armbar yesterday, but he looked decent in the IMMAF. He lost by a standing guillotine. It was a Pankoff, the Russian fighter. And Jake and Guy, I think he's fought in the MMA leagues, but he hasn't made his MMA full debut.
That's it. But I mean, a very big guy for bantamweight as well, very tall. It would have been interesting to see that dynamic, because Keane would have been relatively undersized at bantamweight, and Jake would have been a very big guy. But you'd have to give the experience to Keane if they were to compete. It would have been an interesting one for sure. And we have Jake just making his way into the cage there now.
So Jake's just in the cage now, and I think he's about to be declared the winner.
Yeah.
It's got to be disappointing as well for Jake, to be. It's part of the game, it's part of the competition. But to be making your full MMA debut.
Yeah. And he will get that opportunity tomorrow. He's taking on Aaron Henry, and what I believe now is going to be the final.
Yeah, it's really difficult to get mentally prepared for a fight and then have it fall through, but he'll get the chance tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure. And look, it is good that he does get to compete tomorrow. And that will be for the bantamweight title. But I suppose if you think you're in a round robin, you've kind of prepared yourself to fight over the course of 2 days.
That's no longer a round robin anymore, is it? So that's just going to be a straight final.
Straight final, I believe. Well, I mean, if you look at it as a way of still a round robin, Jake got a walkover today, which is technically a victory, and Aaron got one yesterday. So it would be the final anyway. So it's just a straight final, yeah. So we're having a small few technical issues with our in, and we have visuals now of the cage. Yeah. And there we have Jake in the cage.
Okay.
Looking lonesome in there.
He is, yeah.
He's warming up like he's ready to go regardless.
You might do a few rounds of shadow boxing there after getting warmed up.
Put on a show.
Yeah.
And he does look quite tall for bantamweight, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's a very big boy for bantamweight. I would say as he progresses through the years, there'll certainly be a move up through the divisions at his height. And I mean, I'd say his long limbs as well. He'd be a tricky opponent for most at bantamweight.
Yeah, and he's only 18 years old. And there he is, gets his hand raised. So a little disappointed looking, but Jake will get his opportunity to fight tomorrow.
Yeah.
A smile coming on his face as he exits the cage finally.
So So the first fight official on deck will be Jamie Abbott-Bissett versus Ross Kearney. It's Team Rhino versus CMAC in this one, and the winner will take on Carl McConway in the final tomorrow.
Yeah, this is going to be a great fight, I think. You know, Jamie is quite experienced for an amateur. You know, he won the Europeans a number of years ago, and brother of world champion
Nadine, yes, of course. I mean, that family have been doing the damn thing of late.
Yeah, I think that bothers him a little bit.
He needs to get his win.
Yeah. I was speaking to Jamie there last night, and he said after this tournament he wants the real money fight, and that's a showdown versus his sister.
that no, people will pay to see that. I better not say it while he's too close to me, but my money's on Nadine in that one. So Jamie is in the cage now, and we have Ross Kearney at the prep point getting greased up.
Yeah, and the first thing I'm noticing already is a noticeable size difference between the two.
Yeah, for sure. Of course, we have to point out that Jamie did move up for this fight. He's already accepted the title at flyweight, so he's moving up to compete this weekend at bantamweight. And there's definitely a more tense feeling in the air today than there was yesterday. There's a kind of an eerie silence just fell over the place as both men made their way in.
Yeah, the tension has definitely risen.
For sure.
The stakes are up today.
And we're away for day 2 of the IMMAA Junior and Senior National Championships. Not much feeling out again. We are pretty much straight into action, same as yesterday.
Jamie opening with a number of kicks and a nice 1-2 combo there.
Yeah.
Ross will be looking to use his reach advantage here and stay on the outside, I'd imagine, use those kicks.
Jamie's done very well in and out movement though.
It's very active early.
Yeah.
And I wonder if, you know, it'll take Ross a little bit to get going. He was out of competition for a long time there until his most recent fight versus Gary Rooney in Cage Legacy. There may be a feeling in process here for Ross.
Oh, and that's a phenomenal takedown.
Jamie looks very sharp. He's just coming straight off the trip to Abu Dhabi as well, like, so I imagine he's fresh and ready to go.
Jamie needs to be careful of the triangle. Oh, never mind.
No.
This is kind of what we saw from Jamie at the IMMAF too, isn't it? You know, very active, pressure heavy, and looking for that takedown, and then exactly what we're seeing right now, going to work on the ground.
Ross should be looking to use the cage to get up from here.
Yeah, and you wonder if the size advantage will play a factor here. Will Jamie be able to control a top position like he would at flyweight?
He's doing well at it so far. He's really looking good.
Jamie in the red on top and Ross in the blue on the bottom. Jamie's in good control here, really dominant.
He's taking the back room.
And so far, Jamie is having no issues with the size difference anyway. Yeah. He looks the stronger fighter so far.
A good reversal again by Jamie. Jamie so far just seems a little step ahead of Ross.
One thing about Jamie's grappling here is that he is landing damaging shots every time he gets the takedown. You know, that's what judges are going to be looking for.
For sure, yeah.
And he's very active. He's constantly moving.
He looks like he's setting up.
He could get a submission here, could he?
He's got one hook in.
Working for that second hook.
Oh, he's got the tap.
It's difficult to see from the cage side here, but I couldn't tell if it was a face crank or if the arm under the
couldn't
neck.
see from the angle I was looking at, but that was looked like was it under the chin?
It was tight, whatever it was anyway. I think it might have just been over the chin, but he cranked that tight.
That was very impressive from Jamie Abbott-Bissett.
Very impressive. And we start the day again with a first round submission. I mean, this is it's unprecedented territory now. We've had 5 submissions out of 8 fights yesterday in the first round, and we're starting the day again. Seems like we're going to be straight back.
That was impressive. I mean, that was impressive from Jamie. I mean, he didn't have the second hook in.
Yeah.
And he's showing some great grip strength there to get that crank, and that was a very impressive performance. Like from a smaller guy, Yeah, really good by Jamie Abbott visit there.
I think one important thing to note is the lack of damage that Jamie sustained in that fight. You know, when we're looking at tournament-style competitions, you're fighting multiple times over the course of a few days. To not incur any damage.
And to be heading straight to the finals tomorrow with that,
rather than going through, say, a 3-round war and then being a bit damaged going into your next fight. So.
And we have our second fight straight away on deck, and this is going to be in the featherweight division. So if we pull up the bracket there just briefly, in the featherweight division we have Ryan Keogh here going up against Keith Keogh, and of course the winner will take on the winner of our next fight, Jordan Bradshaw versus Lewis Byrne, in the final tomorrow.
The battle of the Keoghs.
This is it, no relations.
Relations.
Yeah. Ryan Keogh
is a fight
off.
I'm really excited for this one.
It is the main fight of the day, I think, in a lot of people's eyes. Ryan Keogh is coming off a first-round loss in the World Championships to Maher Rioev earlier this year, in an impressive performance at the World Cup last year that saw him win the gold with 4-0, 4 stoppages. A veteran now of 3 IMMAF events, Ryan is one of the most experienced at the weight class, debuting back in November 2019.
Yeah, like Ryan Keogh is one of these guys who's come up in MMA. He joined SBG when he was 10 years old, I believe.
Yeah.
So you know, he's a purple belt now, 21 years old. That's 11 years he's been training in this gym. Is a long time, and he seems to take a very professional approach. Like his goal is UFC World Champion, and you can see, like I've seen kind of professionally made sponsorship videos and all this stuff.
Very driven towards that goal.
Exactly, yeah.
And we have Keith Keogh in the prep point at the moment. Keith Keogh pulled off an IMMAA choke yesterday against Ronan Deegan. After dubbing it himself the Keto Plata, we did a little bit of research, and it was IMMAA who was the first person to pull off this choke. And since then, Mackenzie Dern at Invicta and Lee Hammond at the IMMAFs, of course, have pulled off those chokes. I don't know of any other in competition. Certainly a rare choke for sure, but this is one to look out for.
As Keith enters the cage.
Keith in the red corner and Ryan in the blue corner here. See the tape on their gloves.
What I noticed from Ryan is he usually shoots very early. He'll land a strike or two and then shoot. But this time he seems to be happy to trade for at the beginning.
Yeah. He's thrown a handful of those inside leg kicks. Maybe just offset the balance of Keith.
I was very impressed with Keith Keogh's distance control yesterday. It was very, very smooth on the feet.
That was a beautifully set up takedown right there. He hit it behind a combination of strikes.
That's his signature takedown. He always landing it at the World Cup as well.
And again, in the opening minute, just that's his whole game plan,
And once he's on top, he gets to work, and you can see it here. It's what he's doing, and he lands strikes in there as well. He's very active in position.
Keith is giving him problems here, though. He's very active guard, and we saw that yesterday as well.
Could be looking to set up a triangle from here.
He's looking to maybe repeat yesterday's feat.
That would be something else.
Long legs
very
work
high
for your
rubber
advantage.
Guard going here, yeah.
The long legs work for your advantage in this position. Like, you can get the dexterity of your legs and throw up triangles or use them for sweeps. Like he threw up the omoplata yesterday, which he turned into the IMMAA choke as well, which was unbelievable. And he's using that. We've seen BJ Penn do this quite a bit back in the day.
And I mean, if you're looking at this as a judge, how are you scoring this? Because there is certainly danger coming from the bottom and some strikes coming from the bottom. I know the dominant position is obviously in favour of Ryan Keogh, but you can't deny what Keith is doing from the bottom position as well.
One of the greatest misconceptions about judging is that position means anything without damage. If you're in top position, it's purely a position. People may disagree with that, but that's how the criteria is defined. So at the moment, Keith Keogh is winning this round through his strikes from the bottom and looking for those subs.
And he seems to have somewhat nullified the offense here of Ryan just at the moment. That guard seems to be working very well for him. But there is the worry, I suppose, if you're holding this position for a very long time, is that going to burn out your legs a little bit?
It can do a little bit. I mean, if you're Ryan Keogh here, you'd want to be posturing up a little bit and try. Easier said than done, I guess, but he's going to have to try and get off some strikes here if he wants to kind of get up on the scorecards here in round one.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ryan Keogh would want to be trying to get out of here and separate and get back to the feet.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's as simple as that right now for him.
And if you are Ryan Keogh now in the next round, do you come out and try and take him down again, or do you try and strike with him?
Yeah, for me that's a Keith Keogh round. Ryan looked the better at the beginning of the round until he got the takedown.
But
Keith Keogh from there.
It's a bit of a mystery in MMA though. Oftentimes those type of rounds do get scored for the guy on top. And look, I know at IMMAFs they're very good at scoring rounds, and they do score it off what the old criteria they call danger and damage. It's effective striking and grappling now, because you can't say danger or damage, but if you're looking at that, I agree with you. I would say Keith Keogh, but I wouldn't be shocked if it went the other way.
Yeah, nor would I. That's a super close round. I wouldn't argue too much if it went either way. It depends what way a judge is looking at that, whether it's looking at positional control or whether it's looking at damage. I know Keith did land some shots on the bottom, but and was trying to get in control. It's just making it more uncomfortable for Ryan rather than maybe going for the submission. Or I know obviously he was trying to go for the triangle, but it wasn't really close to a fight-ending sequence. So very close round. I don't think either fighter should feel confident that they had won that round.
Yeah.
Round 2 is now underway.
And he's going for a takedown again, but Keith defends well this time. Excellent job there.
Nice trip by Ryan, but
it'd be interesting to see what adjustments.
Be
interesting to see what adjustments he's making on kind of overcoming that high guard this time round.
I think what we've seen from Keith is he's very comfortable off his back, and he can play in that guard, and he can do a lot of damage from it as well. And if he can nullify the offense, it's where he can actually win this fight at the moment.
And what we want to see now from Ryan is a bit of activity here and to start landing strikes, because if he's just going to stay in the guard here, it's not going to score for him.
You would be looking for Keith to be confident to be winning on the scorecards, though, to maybe get a stand-up or to sweep from here.
Yeah, and see what we're seeing now, Ryan's starting to land some shots to the body, into the head, and this is where you're going to start to score now.
But again, he goes back to the high guard again, the rubber guard, which worked so well for him in that first round.
Are you surprised that Ryan came out and shot for a takedown again, based off what happened in the first
Not
round?
really. It's kind of his go-to game plan in most fights. I don't think he's going to change it up. Like, in his head, he probably feels like he won that first round.
Yeah.
But it certainly was a close one.
And at the moment, there's not a whole lot going on. There is a whole lot going on, but as far as damage, there's not much happening right now.
And in that case, that's where you would be scoring to the man on top.
And we see Ryan, we got a little bit of separation there, but he immediately chose to go back into the guard and try and land from there.
Should he work to maybe advance his position to half guard? Would he find a more effective position from there?
Half guard usually is a position where you can land more strikes from being on top, but you also do give the person on bottom more chances to escape as well. It's a high risk, high reward position, but I think in Ryan's case here now, he's not really landing too much from the top, so
it would be beneficial,
yeah. Or even if he could just get out of guard and, as you said, now try and get the half guard and side control and try and get to go from there.
Keith is happy to just have him sit in his guard using mission control, just landing shots there, which is winning him the round so far.
And I don't think Keith has come close at all to getting a submission here, although he is searching for...
No, it's more looking to keep him in the guard there rather than looking for the triangle, and he's happy to land those shots from the bottom. Oh, he's looking for the triangle. No.
Like, I mean, if we were looking at some stats here, if we had the stats, I would imagine that Keith is 3-1 on strikes at the moment. He's being very active from the bottom.
Ryan did land a number of strikes though in that round. He was better this round at landing damage once he was in the guard. So again, another incredibly close round to score. I have no idea who won that one, to be honest.
Yeah, you wouldn't like to be a judge in this one.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's one apiece going into this last round, especially with the damage done by Ryan that last one. But Keith, I would have had taken the first. Lee Hammond in the corner of Ryan Keogh there, and Alexander Sullivan in the corner of Keith. Two very well versed amateurs, and now Lee turning pro.
And if you're Keith Keogh now in this situation and going into the third round, are you trying to use more wrestling defence and keep it standing, or are you happy to get taken down and get him back into your card?
I think he's got to try and keep this one at all costs standing, because he can't be sure of either round on the scorecards.
Yeah.
I think a dominant round here, and I think it's his fight, or even maybe get top position himself could be the game plan.
It's one of those fights where you could see both fighters kind of thinking that they'd won each round.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
They may not feel that they need to switch up their game plans.
That's the beauty of these tournaments, though. The fact that you can get these two fighting each other, and it being so close.
And he's after falling off the back there. He kind of snatched it a little bit too quickly, tried to jump on.
Looking for Kimura here.
Keith could be after giving away position there now and looking for Kimura.
Could switch to an arm. No.
He's got it close. And Ryan does very well, but he's kind of stepped in almost to a triangle. And we have the same position here as yesterday. I mean, it's incredible transitions from Keith Keogh here, from submission to submission.
He's very good, dangerous. Very active off his back. And
looking for a leg lock here.
He just looks so comfortable in moving with each position.
Yeah. Like that was 4 submission attempts back to back to back.
I mean, that's what, when you get taken down and you get put on your back, you have to be active. Like, there's no point in accepting the position, and you either scoot to the cage or you get super active on your back and you go for those submissions, and that's what the judges will like to see.
For sure, it's submission, sweep or stand up. You've got to do one of the three. And Keith has very much kind of mastered the art of going for submissions off his back. You have to feel like he's clearly ahead in this round, so you've got to see something from Ryan, really.
Yeah, this is a crucial point in the fight here. This could decide now whether you win or you lose, and whether you advance or go home.
Ryan starting to stack Keith here now.
Yeah, he needs to land some offense of his own.
Ryan seems to be really struggling to get anything going here as far as offense. And it's the same position, you know, Keith's ability to pull Ryan in close and land those shots from the bottom.
And I talked about in the first round about his legs tiring, but he's able to hold that all the way through this fight. He's been able to grab that high guard and pull it up.
I have to say, I'm a bit surprised that the fight didn't stay on the feet a bit longer in any round. Like, I don't think one or the other were getting the better necessarily in the striking.
And again, does very well to threaten a submission as soon as Ryan starts to land some strikes.
Looking to stand up here, has the back.
And into top position to end it. What a phenomenal bout.
Great fight.
That was a real chess match, wasn't it?
Yeah. I wouldn't be confident still either way on the scorecards, though.
Who would you give it to?
Personally, I think Keith won the first and the third.
Yeah.
And the second even was still very, very close. But
I would agree. I think the first round is going to be the toss-up.
yeah. Do you think if Keith picks up the victory here that it's somewhat of a surprise given Ryan's kind of tournament history?
If it wasn't for what he showed yesterday, yes.
Yeah.
Because yesterday that was just incredible. He stole the show yesterday.
Yeah.
And almost pulled off the same submission again today in the second round.
He's certainly looking for it, yeah.
I think if you pull that off twice, that should be your submission.
Yeah. He gets to rename it at that point, yeah.
Lee Hammond had the copyright for a little while, but if Keith
You'd have to be looking. How do you have it, lads? I think Keith Keogh did enough to take this.
I would agree. I think 2-1, yeah. But
just about.
I think the consensus is maybe Keith Keogh 2-1, but there's a lot of trepidation in submitting those scorecards.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't like to be a judge on this one because I think we could very easily get a split decision here, and judges don't like split decisions. And we're waiting for the scorecards to be totted up, so there's definitely... Seems like we could be split on this one.
I think this is the type of fight, regardless of how the decision goes, where both fighters will learn a lot, take away a lot from this fight.
Yeah. And I think, win or lose, I think Ryan's already established himself as one of the top amateurs in the country. I think Keith Kyo has stepped up to that mark over the course of this weekend, and has certainly made a big name for himself. We were lucky at the clip. You posted the clip up on Twitter yesterday, and I genuinely believe if Keith Kyo was a bigger name, that clip would have gone viral yesterday of that submission.
We're about to get the judge's decision here.
And we have Keith Kyo by unanimous decision.
That's the correct call.
Yeah, I believe so as well.
Very impressive. He was impressive
very
yesterday. It's a tough fight today against a tough opponent in Ryan Kyo, and he'll be very happy with that win.
And we have the next featherweights on deck. If you're Jordan Bradshaw and Lewis Byrne, I mean, you've got to be game planning. If you get through, you've got to be game planning for the high guard and for the submission attempts off the back. You almost are thinking already you've got to keep this fight standing.
Here we have Jordan Bradshaw making his walk to the cage now, sporting the Muay Thai shorts.
This is a rematch of their fight earlier, was it last year?
It is indeed, yeah. So they fought just late last year.
It's for a belt as well.
Yeah, for the Cage Legacy featherweight title.
Yeah. That was in October last year.
Jordan Bradshaw had a great fight on the last Cage Legacy card with Rory Burke, who Lewis Byrne got a walkover against yesterday. A really, really high level back and forth fight that went to decision, and it was a close fought one as well. So looking forward to seeing Jordan here.
So regardless of results yesterday, Jordan was looking to get an L back against either Rory or Lewis. So
had Rory stayed in the competition, it would have almost been a round robin over the course of Cage Legacy and the IMMAA Nationals.
Yeah. And we have Lewis Byrne making his way to the prep point now.
That's Paul Redmond shouting abuse at me here, cage side. Looking a little bit pudgier now after retiring.
Good luck when he hears that back.
I'm out the door, lads.
We won't be seeing you tomorrow.
Yeah. Hopefully there's no one streaming it in here and goes over and tells them before we finish up for the day.
No. It's a safe space here now.
And he'll be going around with crutches once Paul gets one of his legs.
Lewis Byrne entering the cage now.
And of course went 1-1 at the World Cup last year, so he has that IMMAF experience under his belt. And we're straight away.
Both of them have quite a bit of experience.
Yeah. 19 fights between them. It's one of the more kind of heavily experienced fights that we have this weekend. Very good
only catch that kick. Yeah, Jordan Bradshaw went to the 2018 or 2019 Euros as well, so he's got a bit of
bronze medalist,
this style of competition.
This is similar to the last fight where Lewis Byrne was very much dominant on the ground. He had some success with his hands as well, and the kicking game that Jordan was better at, but Lewis Byrne kind of a repeat last time here so far.
Yeah. And he is looking to step over into half guard here.
Heavy pressure here from Lewis Byrne.
You can probably hear Paul Redmond through the mics there shouting instructions.
He has the feet on the hips though. He could push off and try and stand up. He's taking
there you go. Yeah.
Back into half guard again. Stepped over the side. Back into the guard.
And Jordan doing well there to regain full guard as well. And over the shoulder with the leg as well. This could be...
Looking to set up a triangle possibly.
He worked his arm back in.
nice transition into psychic throw.
Yeah, and Lewis Byrne just giving Jordan Bradshaw no room to move here whatsoever.
Yeah.
Flatten his back.
Not offered much by way of striking offense on the ground just yet, but intense pressure from the top position.
Into scarf control. Looking for the arm now.
And
This
here
is
we
where
go.
now Lewis Byrne is able to land that well, and it looks like he's... If you're Lewis Byrne here, you want to be starting to land here because there's a wide open head waiting to be punched.
He has that arm trapped. He's
Looking to isolate the arm there and straighten out the arm.
Switch to the back. Very nice.
Oh, he's not falling off though.
Going for the arm right here. Very well done by Jordan. Interesting first round.
Yeah, good end to the first round for Jordan, but I do think Lewis did enough to
Yeah, I think that was a clear Lewis
Top
Byrne
that one,
first
yeah.
round.
without offering much by way of like striking on the ground and pound, but dominance.
And the thing is here now, if you're Lewis, you just want to go and do the same thing again. If you're Jordan, you absolutely want to keep this fight standing.
Yeah. It's rinse and
Lewis,
repeat for Lewis.
Yeah.
Lewis in the red top, he was very, very dominant on top and good pressure there. Landed some good shots when the fight immediately got down to the mat, but Jordan kind of swept them towards the end and was looking good. But Jordan will definitely want to be keeping this in the feet.
Yeah. And you've Alexander Sullivan again in the corner there, a busy man today.
Yeah, and Lewis just demonstrating the classic Team Rhino approach, right? Just gritty, head forward, not giving you an inch once you can take them down.
We're almost ready for round two.
Starting round two, Jordan in the white top and Lewis in the red top.
Jordan with a nice left hand there.
He's landed a couple of left straights to start this round.
Very promising start from Jordan with the strikes.
Is to try not to overcommit on any of these because Lewis will go underneath them.
Jordan is doing well here with double underhooks though, and a body lock.
Yep. He's looking to sweep the leg now.
Interesting that Jordan is actually the one holding him against the cage. If I was him now, I would try to get off the cage and just land more strikes.
Heavy day so far, hasn't it been? We haven't really seen fighters looking to exchange for long periods of time.
Similar yesterday, there was a couple of fights with started out striking, but most of them ended up on the mat.
And you'd wonder, this may be the difference between amateur and professional MMA, or even not only amateur MMA, but when it's a multi-day event, you don't want to be incurring damage, you don't want to be getting yourself injured, so it's a little bit safer to look to the grappling and then let it all go on the final day.
You're looking at 3 rounds as well if you can get the fight down and you can dominate and land a couple of punches as well. You'd seal the deal on a round for yourself in 3 minutes. So.
And it's nip and tuck here between Byrne and Bradshaw Kearney looking to get the takedown against the cage. Very well done by Jordan Bradshaw. Jordan Bradshaw's right over by his corner here now as well. Alexander Sullivan instructing him from outside the cage.
Jordan could do well here landing the strikes.
Yeah. The difference here between Jordan in this round and Lewis was Jordan seems to be more posturing up. It's more damage ahead of position than Lewis was very technical and control the first round.
He'll probably thought Jordan probably came into this round thinking he lost the first round, so he's really pouring it on, and sure he doesn't let this round slip away.
He has given Lewis the opportunity to stand up here with that space, though.
Very nice roll, sure.
Jordan does well to hold on, though.
Paul Redmond screaming at Lewis Byrne to land shots from the bottom and be active from the guard position.
Big left hand. And another big left hand.
And that's the difference in this round, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the pack.
That's under the neck. Very, very close to a finish.
Lewis Byrne may be saved by the bell there.
Yeah.
His coach Paul Redmond screamed at him not to tap. There was only 2 seconds left.
He was definitely right under the neck.
Yeah.
Very good round for Jordan Bradshaw. Could be very well 1-1 going into the third. Everything to fight
Looks
for.
that way, yeah.
Yeah, and a big momentum shift as well. You know, this will give Bradshaw a lot of confidence going into round 3.
He really shifted the momentum there by actually just all right, Lewis could take you down in round 1. I'll take you down in round 2 and do what you did to me, and I'll do it even better. Landed heavier strikes and even nearly got the finish there.
Yeah.
And if you're in the coach now, Lewis Byrne, what are you trying to tell him here now? Because he did a brilliant first round and then didn't do as well in the second round. What's your advice to him here now?
I suppose that he's got to be the one to initiate the takedown in this one and maybe get that top position early. Go back to the kicks that he was throwing early in the first round and use his strikes to set up the takedown. Because he did that beautifully in the first round, and once he got on top, he stayed there.
Ryan asking Lewis Byrne to wake up.
I think he was telling him not asking.
Question on Ryan anyway.
Straight away. And that'll be another little confidence boost for Jordan Bradshaw, that he's lunging for the takedowns now, as opposed to setting them up.
Bradshaw does look a little bit quicker on the feet.
Yeah.
He's just fighting as a confident fighter right now. You know, it's a very dominant round 2. And once you can get a couple of those takedowns, and then I commentated curse.
It was a well-timed level change by Lewis Byrne to get that down. He's looking for the head and arm shot here.
Lewis could be looking for an arm shot
He
here.
may have it.
This is tight. He's doing the right things, holding onto his leg, but you can still get an awful big squeeze on this.
Paul Redmond asking to take it over.
And Jordan is almost turning this.
And this is a much better round for Lewis Byrne.
Yeah.
His transitions have been absolutely incredible as well.
The volume inside SVG has risen a few decibels as of the last 30 seconds.
And Jordan doing very well there again to stay out of danger and reverse the position.
Very good.
You have to figure he's got to land some damning blows in this one to win back this round.
Lewis doing well against guard back though.
Yeah, but Lewis can't stay here now because Jordan, as you can see, is starting to land when he's in the guard. He's landing shots. Will they be enough? I don't know. It seems at the moment that Lewis Byrne is kind of just staying here with his back.
Jordan should be looking to make sure and get some big shots down.
Yeah, Jordan still, in my opinion, needs to land some big shots. For sure.
There you go.
Jordan has one hooker. Looking to get under the chin.
This is a bad position for Lewis Byrne to be in here now because it's just allowing Jordan Bradshaw to land clean shots here.
Yeah.
10-second clapper goes, and this is a very, very close round. Lewis Byrne.
Very late shot.
Jordan Bradshaw. I don't think it was intentional, I'd say.
heat of the moment, I
Call
think.
of the moment, exactly, yeah. That is how do you score that round?
I was just going to say, I'd like to get your opinion. Do you think it weighs heavy that Jordan ended the round well as opposed to started the round well? Because it seemed to be split right down the middle. Very good start for Lewis and then good end for Jordan.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Like, I think that Jordan probably did more damage once he got the advantageous positions with the strikes. But Lewis
I'd probably be leaning towards Jordan for this, taking the last round and probably taking the fight. A close one.
We have a quick decision. And another unanimous for Jordan this time.
And you'd have to expect that Jordan took the second and third rounds there. Lewis took the first, you'd imagine.
You know, Lewis started the third round dominant there, but Jordan reversed and he was in his dominant position of his own and landing strikes as well and you know that was probably enough for him to take that.
For sure, and that's back-to-back wins as well for CMAC.
It's
two big decision victories, all CMAC
grueling
final
wins.
So teammates facing off tomorrow.
You'd love to see Lewis and Jordan fight again maybe sometime.
Yeah, for sure. I think I'd watch a lot of these matches over again. So our next fight on deck, we're moving to the lightweight division. And the first semi-final there is our first look at the number 1 seed Solomon Simon as he takes on Jack Thorne, who of course had a submission victory yesterday. The winner will take on the winner of our next fight, Frank Maher versus Andrew Barnett today. So we do actually we spoke to Solomon during the week. We have a few words from him here.
Having a full bracket is very good. It actually gives like a good chance to show off everything. Like I feel like actually all the way to gold, I would feel like I actually deserve to get there because I actually had to fight all my way through. So that's what I'm looking forward to as well for sure. And it shows like the level that Ireland has already. There's a lot of good people at lightweight, so like this is a good chance for me to show that I'm one of the best in Ireland. So looking forward to it.
And you've Solomon there just kind of waxing lyrical on the talent we have at lightweight, which I suppose it's the only full division we had this week, and there's an abundance of talent at lightweight in Ireland at the moment at amateur level. So you were saying earlier, Quilty, you were excited to see Solomon get up on deck.
Yeah, I really enjoy watching him fight. He's very exciting. The last time, he was, as I said before, he was unlucky. Came up against a very heavy wrestler in Zane Mikado, and in the first round he actually looked good. He was able to get a takedown of his own. He looked good in the feet, and his striking is where he kind of excels. But he can grapple too.
Yeah.
That's what it's easily forgotten. Because he's so good at striking. But I think he's got a big man in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. And he's one of the most experienced guys here this weekend at 7-5, and 3 IMMAFs behind him. He's been there and he's done that in the scene. He earned that number 1 seed, but it's one of those divisions where you could still see anyone pick it up from the last 4.
You see, with Jack Thorne here, this is a massive opportunity for him, because that's a huge scalp to take, especially in semi-finals. You kind of only making your debut yesterday, and now you come along and you take number 1 seed out. It's a massive opportunity, and you really kind of put your stamp on the division as well, and everyone in Ireland's going to know you after this as well.
For sure. And do you think this would be one of the bigger upsets of the weekend if Jack Thorne could pull this off?
I think it would be the biggest.
Yeah. But again, it's based on what we saw yesterday, and he looked so technical and so good. It's hard to rule him out.
And if there was an area you could look at from the IMMAFs to talk about Solomon Simon as maybe an area to work on, it was the takedown defence.
Yeah.
He struggled a little bit with Machado in that regard. So if getting yelled at here quite case-out by Paul Brown, but if Jack can look to get the takedown, and he had a great submission yesterday, so a real unknown though, for me anyway, coming into this competition is Jack Thorne.
Yeah, for sure.
We've seen a lot of grappling here now. I think, would you think if Solomon has his way, we're going to see a bit of a striking here in this fight?
Definitely. I imagine Solomon's looking to keep this one on the feet. That's where he's most comfortable. But you would imagine Jack is, based on the submission yesterday and the confidence that would have given him, I fancy Jack to be looking to get this one to the ground.
Absolutely. I think it'll be up to Solomon to try and keep it on the feet, and I think that's where the fight is going to be won and lost, really. If Jack can implement his game plan and get the fight down, and Solomon is a fantastic striker, lots of experience, and I think he's just going to be looking to kind of sprawl, keep the fight on the feet and land these shots on the feet here. So it's a classic striker versus grappler as such, even though Sullivan does have some great grappling as well. But I think his route to victory in this fight is definitely keeping the fight on the feet.
For sure. We are just, there's a little bit of a delay in getting this one. We're not ready to go just yet. Just a few minutes delay. But just, I suppose, lads, who so far today has impressed you? Obviously, Keith Keogh again coming in after that sensational finish yesterday, and to take on the experience of Ryan Keogh and go a close decision with him. But like, we all had it scored for Keith in the end.
Yeah, I mean, I think there have been a few very close fights, but for me, the most impressive so far has been Jamie Abbott. The dominance that he showed there and moving up a weight class too. So very high on Jamie Abbott today.
Yeah, and could become the first two-time national champion. Because he obviously picked up the flyweight by default because it was an empty division just himself. But I mean, don't take anything away from him. He was willing to compete at flyweight and jump up the bantamweight to compete as well. So he could very easily become a two-division champion tomorrow at the Nationals.
That family are going to be taking home so many gold medals if he wins.
It's insane. They're going to have a separate room in that household for all their trophies and medals. And you think about it, they had such a good January and February between them. The year's only just started, and it's been a sensational year for them.
And there's so many competitions like coming up as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like Jamie could easily qualify for the Super Cup.
Yeah.
He's already qualified for the Europeans. Same with Nadine. So
yeah.
You could see they have a.
They could easily get a good few more medals this year. Yeah. And that's not even counting if they're fighting on the regional scene, Cage Legacy. I'm sure they'll be offered some fights with belts on the line based on their performances so far this year.
Fighting every weekend.
Yeah. We had Nadine on the podcast there recently enough, and she was saying she's really struggling to find matchups at atomweight in Ireland.
I can imagine,
having these competitions where you can go abroad and find appropriate matchups at your own natural weight class is really crucial for her.
Yeah. And I mean, the fact that she's moving up to strawweight now as well, I think this will be a good feeling out process for her, because I do believe there's more matchups for her available at strawweight. Now, obviously, it's a big step up to be going up to strawweight. She's comfortable at atomweight and she's dominant there. So it'll be good to see how she fares against Lisa Houston and kind of gauge whether she wants to take on the strawweight division around Ireland and the UK.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think the most important thing for her is activity. I know she may not get it at her natural weight, but I think she's going to want to be competing.
Yeah, for sure. We have a lot of discussion going on around the cage, but not much action, so we're still waiting on Sullivan and Jack Thorne to get ready and make their way to the prep point.
One thing actually I found interesting now just today so far is that we've actually had more decision fights go to decision than all of yesterday.
Yeah.
Like in the first five fights, we had 5 submissions.
Yeah, we had 5 straight submissions to kick off the day yesterday.
And each one
on your toes.
Yeah, 100%. Each one as well, which is very strange, was off their back.
Yeah.
Like we had triangles and arm bars off their back, and then obviously the keto plata.
Yeah.
It's very strange, really, get just submissions off their back.
I tell you what, that's no harm. If we're let's call a spade here. The level of competition here is fantastic. But as soon as they get over to the Super Cup, their first round is against Russia.
Yeah, they're going to need to be able to work off their back.
Make no mistake, the Russians are very, very good.
They've already announced their team, and their team is absolutely ridiculous. They've had lads who aren't even competing at the Worlds that are probably better than the lads that are at the Worlds are going to be going to this. It's ridiculous.
And the Irish fighters, whether they win or lose, they're going to be putting their back at some point. We know the Russian style is that gritty wrestling. So
the guys you looked at yesterday who picked up those submissions, that's ideally what the game plan, if you do get taken down against those Russians, to be constantly looking for something, whether it's a sweep, whether it's a submission, or to be constantly working back up to your feet. But I think against that very close Russian style, to be able to throw up submissions in close, it would benefit you massively against them.
I'm trying to think who was it. Was it Gary Rooney's fight where it was a split decision lost at the Worlds?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it was a Russian lad he fought, but he fought a very heavy wrestler, and he was throwing up these submissions, and he was asking questions, and it was that type of style that was kind of it would make you think is like you're getting there to figuring this out and actually having a plan of beating them.
For sure. And was it Lewis Byrne or Ryan Keogh got a decision victory off their back against the Russian in the World Cup last year.
It wouldn't have been at the World Cup. The Russia
was all finishes, so it wasn't him anyway.
Russia weren't at the World Cup last year.
Oh, sorry. What was the championship before that? The junior junior Europeans, maybe?
No, Euros. Ireland didn't go to the Euros, and Russia didn't go to the World Cup. So maybe it could have been from one of the other countries. There's plenty there.
No, it could have been someone not from Russia. I just thought it was a Russian. It could have been
The Energised show are letting us know that Nadine will be the first two division champion if
of course, yeah, she's competing at strawweight tomorrow. I forget. Take nothing away from them, but if both of them become double champions,
just once, could Jamie not be first?
Yeah.
Another quote Jamie actually gave me last night was, in the words of Nate Diaz, Nadine is taking everything he works for.
Poor old Jamie in the shadows, like. So we do have
we know what the hold-up is at the moment, do we?
There's just a little break, I think. So I'm not sure what's causing it, but I do know it's 5 minutes before we go back to the cage anyway. That's what I just heard a moment ago from Andy Ryan.
And it's great to see, you know, the national championship. There's so many clubs from all over Ireland here today. It's no longer, MMA is no longer a Dublin-centric sport in Ireland.
Yeah. And you have so many clubs doing well as well here.
One thing I've definitely noticed about this competition, it's very similar to the kind of feel of the IMMAF competitions as well, is as the days go on and you get to, you know, where there's medals on the line, you see the fights become a lot closer, and we've seen it already today, the Ryan Keogh fight and Keith Keogh fight, then you also had the one after that as well, where it's just, there's a little bit more tension and you get and there's more in the line. It's similar, very similar to IMMAF, and in the finals at IMMAF you'll see it as well. So 2 minutes. 2 minutes are off.
2 minute warning from the gaffer Andy Ryan.
No messing about with Andy Ryan. He's hovering over behind us as well, which is unsettling.
It's I don't know which way to look.
So the guys are basically ready to make their walk now. You have Solomon Simon. I was talking to him as I showed during the week. He feels prepared for this weekend's fights after just continuing his training from the World Championships. He is happy to be in such a strong division and believes it is a testament to the level of Ireland's lightweights, as you heard there in the VT. Solomon believes that in comparison to some of the other nations at IMMAF events, the Nationals is something we have been lacking, so believes this will benefit us greatly going forward. And of course his opponent Jack pulled off a fantastic submission victory over Craig Crowley yesterday, earning himself the spot against the #1 seed Solomon. He too believes the formation of the form, I can't even read my own writing. the formation of back-to-back days will better prepare athletes for future IMMAF events and would be honoured to represent his gym and country at the Super Cup.
And it looks like action's about to get underway here again.
Yep.
As Andy Ryan rallies the troops. Gives a thumbs up over it.
All right, Sullivan.
So Solomon is making his way to the prep point just now.
There's a lot going on here today in SPG Ireland. I think Brad Katona's trying to set a deadlift personal record over here. You can hear the clanging and banging.
Cameraman, up you go.
I mean, he has all of the weights on that thing. All of them.
He's got resistance bands on.
There is no weights left.
Gotta admire Solomon Simon shorts.
Yeah, they're certainly out there.
Solomon Simon enters the cage with the blue tape around his gloves,
while wearing a red fight kit.
It'll be interesting to see now Solomon not having fought yesterday and Jack have.
Yeah. Does that play a factor though? I suppose mentally Jack is coming in confident after that victory yesterday.
Yeah.
But Solomon will be fresh. Solomon's used to this style of competition.
Yeah.
I don't know if it gives either a big advantage.
Jack Thorne enters the cage. So fighting out of the red corner, Jack Thorne. Fighting out of the blue corner, Solomon Simon. I didn't understand a word Liam O'Griffin
Liam O'Griffin was apologising for being in our way. And we are ready to go here.
Here we go. Referee Paul Brown gets the action underway.
Shout out Paul Brown.
Solomon Simon in the blue corner with the red rash guard on.
He wants to be mindful of that lead left hook. He throws, Jack Thorne throws that very well.
Take down here. Could be looking for a judo throw.
Interesting as well that he got no
takedown. Simon.
Massive takedown.
Used the body lock well there.
But Jack got no reaction from Solomon on that feint level change.
He kind of telegraphed it a little bit, didn't he?
Yeah.
It was a beautiful body lock takedown by Solomon there in the side control.
Showing us he's not just a striker.
No.
Solomon here should be looking to take at least mount or even knee on belly. Just start posturing up and land strikes.
He's very tight to the body and he does step over, but into half guard, yeah.
Solomon is controlling the posture actually of Jack Thorne very well. He has the arm around the back of the neck, really just driving him into the mat, back into side control.
And he will be looking, I suppose, to stay out of that guard. And he's going for that armbar again. Even from half guard, he went for it.
Solomon Simon elects to take it back up to the feet.
Yeah, Jack is certainly a danger down there. I think Solomon's easiest route to victory, I suppose, is perhaps on the feet.
That will give Jack Thorne something else to think about with the takedown.
For sure, yeah.
Jack Thorne is in a bit of pain here.
Our first cup check of the weekend.
Something else to think about now.
After taking a front kick to the crown jewels.
I think both of them have.
Yeah, I was going to say, for a second there I thought that Solomon threw a kick to the balls and then
took one.
Went away. Looking like he was.
We've seen a double nut shot for our first one of the competition. two for the price of one.
The elusive double dick kick.
Both men will be taking their time here.
Jack Thorne's back up to his feet already.
It looks like Solomon's actually in more pain. It's always the ones that just graze that hurt the most.
Yeah.
The cups do nothing.
In fact, they can be worse. If it's just a graze, they can be worse.
Both Thorne and Simon back to their feet now, and the action's about to get underway again. Touch of gloves.
Heavy kicks there by Solomon.
Oh, a nice right hand there from Jack Thorne.
Very good head move from both lads.
Yeah.
Be interesting to see this play out on the feet now for a little bit.
Yeah. Jack seems fine and comfortable on his feet.
Yeah.
He's landed that lead left hook a couple of times now. He's caught Solomon.
Very nice spinning back fist. Stunned him there.
And we know at this level there's a danger with throwing those spinning back fists, because if you land an elbow, it's an illegal strike. You have to time that perfectly.
Beautiful spinning back fist by Jack. And you know, whenever he comes and whenever he wants to get off first, he's being successful. Solomon is pushing him back and on the back foot, but whenever he does push forward, he is finding success on the feet here.
Yeah.
A strong high kick by Solomon Simon, but it straight into the arm.
Solomon Simon's been very comfortable in switching stances, but he switched there just before that last kick they landed.
Body shot into the straight by Solomon Simon.
Another takedown. And that could be enough to just steal that round. Well, or make it decisive, I suppose, rather than steal it. Yeah.
The takedown shouldn't steal the round.
It generally would on a judge's scorecard, though. Unfortunately,
well, I don't know. I don't know if I'd agree with that now, but it shouldn't anyway. If
it shouldn't be a factor. Yeah.
The takedown will do nothing. There's no such thing as stealing a round anymore in MMA with a takedown. Well,
you want to be looking at
impactful
shots.
Yeah.
So how are we scoring that?
Very close. I would just give it to Solomon, though.
Yeah.
I think he came forward more, and I think his kicks were his main weapon in that round. He didn't offer much ground and pound when he was on top position, but I think when they got back to the feet, he landed a few very nice kicks to the body and to the legs.
Were you lads actually expecting to be that close now, or were you expecting Sullivan to be more dominant when they came out? Or who were you expecting?
I thought it was a lot more closer on the feet than I was expecting, to be honest. You know, and then obviously Sullivan surprised us with the body lock takedown at the start of the round, really powerful, but it's a really good fight. It was a close first round.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to round 2 kicking off.
I mean, aside from yesterday's fight, Jack Thorne is a bit of an unknown commodity to me, so I don't really expect a one-way traffic one way or the other. It's kind of hard to say without seeing him compete a lot.
And we've already seen more of Jack today than we got to see of him yesterday, of course, with that quick finish.
And he looks confident in all areas, really.
Very instinctive for Sullivan. Lots of double underhooks.
Commentator's curse there yet again.
Similar enough takedown from Sullivan there.
Very nice transition at the moment.
And this is where he looks to posture up and really start landing here.
Yeah. Jack needs to look to trap an arm around a leg and try and bridge over to get into these guys.
Here we go.
Nice left hand. Yeah.
Triangle.
And we have this action right in front of us in the cage.
A lot more dominant from Sullivan's side in this round. These are heavy shots landing. Paul Brown taking a good look at the action here.
This could be in with it.
I can't see this going on too much longer if he's going to continue to land these strikes.
I think this is going to get stopped by Paul Brown.
Strikes.
Jack just covering up there, stays fine. Sullivan looking to get the hand on the neck.
Jack is really offering nothing in defence at the moment. I think this fight could be stopped.
I think if Sullivan just continues, there we go.
The referee, Paul Brown, steps in to raise it off.
Yeah.
That was dominant. A dominant round and a dominant finish by Sullivan.
And he went out there and showed that he has some great grappling there. You know, we talked a lot about his striking, but that was super dominant in round 2 with the body lock takedown. Moved quickly into the mount and postured up, landed those shots. The body triangle and remained kept his control on top. So, I mean, that was really impressive by Sullivan. Good stoppage by Paul. I think it was the right thing to do. I think that Jack Thorne was taking a lot of damage there, but Sullivan will be happy with that performance.
A really solid showing from Jack Thorne. You know, for his first bit of action and a great win yesterday. And you know, that was a very close first round in my opinion. There was a lot of back and forth.
Yeah, I think he's coming out of it certainly not being an unknown commodity after this weekend. He's represented himself very, very well over the course of the last 2 days.
Yeah, we'll definitely see Jack Thorne again. Really good fighter.
Frank Meyer being called by Andy Ryan to the cage.
So we are straight up for the next one. Of course, the winner of this is going against Solomon Simon in the final. So this is an interesting one as well. You have Frank Maher versus Andrew Barrett. Frank Maher, another one of our submission victors yesterday. Frank showed off his blue belt skills in catching Paddy Moore in an armbar in the first round. Frank and Butter Colin fight back to back today, but will no doubt be there for each other throughout the process. And Andrew, his TKO victory yesterday was the first fight not to end by submission, but his first round stoppage of Aidan Fegan kept up the trend of first round stoppages. Despite not having represented Ireland at IMMAF level, Andrew has a lot of experience and has fought some big names, including Max Lally of late. And again, a very experienced fighter here in Andrew Barrett. Only really missing that IMMAF experience from his record thus far.
Yeah, but he's also fought abroad. Like he's fought over in the UK. He won that battle arena. What was it? The featherweight belt, or lightweight belt, and
featherweight, I believe. Yeah.
And he's so like that's some valuable experience, especially traveling as well. So he's used to all comers.
So Andrew Barrett entering the cage now in the kind of grey Venom gear with the red tape on his gloves. Frank Meyer in the blue rash guard in the blue corner.
straight into it.
Oof. Andrew Barrett opens with a series of leg kicks, but Frank returns fire with a flurry of combos.
Of punches there. Oh! That right hand hurt
Very
him.
damaging shot from Frank Maher.
And Andrew Barrett is hurt. He's doing his best to recover here, but that right hand hurt him bad.
Big shot there. Still not recovered.
That was a well-timed level change by Andrew Barrett.
Yeah.
He almost got caught with a kick as he went down there for the takedown. I think this is smart by Andrew. You know, he did get hurt there, so the more time he can take here to recover.
Yeah.
It's something you have to be very careful of when you hurt somebody, not to get too wild. Leave yourself open for the grappling. It's a good opportunity for Andrew Barrett to recover here in this position.
For sure.
Andrew doing well here to take the back.
He's taking shots here from Frank.
Yeah. But he seems to have recovered. He seems to be...
He needs to be careful here, he's just slip off.
Andrew used the cage quite well there to push off. And
he's in a great position here. He's right in front of his corner as well, so he's getting instructions directly.
Has the body trying to sink in now as well. From this position now, really, you should just be looking to land strikes or try and get a rear naked choke.
Searching for the...
It's on the chin, but it's tight.
Kieran Davin directing his fighter. Right beside him here, cage side, and he's looking to smash the neck there again.
I think that might be under. It's very close. Oh, he just has his chin tucked.
Frank Meyer fighting the hands currently.
He is doing well to fight the hands here.
I mean, this is just more of a painful situation here right now, isn't it, rather than...
Yeah.
He needs to be careful though, because this choke can be finished with one arm.
Yeah. Frank is doing everything right to defend this choke though. Very well.
This is a very, very difficult round to score because Frank Meyer really did hurt Andrew Barrett at the start of this round. But Andrew did some great work and was close with a number of submissions there.
And we see now Colin jumping in to corner Frank, and of course he is up right away after this fight in the next bout.
Yeah, Andrew did well to recover there and in a dominant position on the back of Frank, and I'd probably be leaning towards Andrew Barrett in that round myself. Landed a few strikes, close with a couple of submissions, but yeah, really close round.
Very, very close round, yeah.
So, something you have to take into account though, right, though, is Andrew for that whole round was on Frank's back. So Frank's cardio might be small but trained, simply because they're carrying all of Andrew's weight on you.
Yeah.
So going into the second round, you need to be careful now if you're Frank. Just
Also tough on Andrew Barrett's legs, you know, having that body triangle on as well, you know. So
and he was squeezing for a lot of that round as well. His arms could be feeling it.
Yeah.
Big momentum shift anyway there in round one.
Definitely.
And you'd wonder, you know, when you have your opponent hurt and probably get a bit of a dump of adrenaline, as you were saying, Ian, about searching for that and not trying to go in too quickly and force.
Yeah, it's just when you.
And will Andrew be hesitant to that?
Oh, Frank landing some heavy shots here now. As Andrew Barrett looks for a takedown. Andrew Barrett in the grey and black, and Frank Maher here in the blue.
Could be looking for more here. Andrew needs to be careful.
And he could just be looking for that position to regain some position there. He gets that back position again.
be careful down here again, he doesn't slip off. But he is looking for the same position as he was in round 1.
Frank again does very well.
Stay on the back.
Yeah. We're kind of in a 50-50 position where the more persistent will get their position here. It seems as though Andrew has got that position.
Frank, you're looking for a leg.
Now. And he has an arm trapped as well, so very well done by Frank Meyer.
Get up there and lands a knee to the body as he rises to his feet.
And he's wise to separate and strike area. Andrew was just glued to him this whole second round.
Most of the damage has been done by Frank Maher in this fight, this round. Andrew Maher has been more dominant in the grappling positions, but Maher has landed more strikes.
Frank switching to a single leg.
Big knee to the body.
And again, that's one of the more confusing things, I suppose, about judging, is that most of the time when we're seeing what looks like dominance in the cage, it's just grappling positional, changes of position in the grappling.
For sure.
So unless they're getting close to submitting them, unless they're getting close to a finish, it shouldn't score a whole lot.
Yeah.
I'd nearly have this fight 1 apiece now, to be honest.
I could see it being 2-0 though. I don't think you could be definitive on any score. Like, I could even see a situation where a judge would give it 2-0 to Frank.
Yeah. I mean, Frank in that round, when he was defending, he was getting off shots at the start. He was landing punches when Andrew was trying to take the back and trying to get the takedown. He landed a couple of nice knees to the body as well towards the end of the round. So those are all scoring shots.
The first round is, I still don't know which way it went. The criteria mentions that it's the more immediately impactful damage rather than the cumulative that scores more. It's weighted more, so it's hard to know. It's also very difficult to score a judge or to judge cage side, so that's why you shouldn't listen to commentary.
No.
It's a nice shot from Frank Meyer there to start the round. Frank does seem to be doing the better work on the feet. He'd be really looking to separate here and try and keep it there, but Andrew Barrett is just...
The pressure he's applying on this is just incredible.
He's having a very tough time creating that space. Using that whizzer very well. That was very well done by Frank. And I've been corrected by Ross Caldwell as well. Frank is actually now a purple belt.
Frank is doing well here.
There by Frank.
He needs to get some underhooks and turn time.
And I think Frank is talking to him here.
Frank Meyer's brother Colin screaming at his...
And this has been a grueling fight.
In fairness though, both lads showing very good cardio, not really showing any signs of tiredness.
Yeah.
Frank looking for the double leg here if he can.
It's think he'd be better off switching to a single. Andrew here has got a whizzer and his split legs.
I hear Colin calling for him to disengage and strike. I think that's his best course of action right now. From Rotten again.
Anytime Andrew Barrett exchanges on the field, he seems to just, to throw a combination and then lead straight into putting pressure up against the cage.
And there certainly seems to be a power advantage in Frank's side.
Frank just looks a little bit more comfortable in the striking exchanges.
Yeah. Colin Maher asked him to break and strike there. Nice
Kieran Davern calling for a takedown here.
Andrew here looking to rake the leg back and try and take him down.
And really, as you said, it's a grueling fight here. A lot of it has been up against the cage. Frank Meyer looking to separate here as the clapper goes. But Andrew Barrett lands a flurry of strikes. That's it.
Very good fight there.
That's a close fight, guys.
An exhausting fight. I can imagine both of them are going to be very tired after that.
So Frank Meyer and Andrew Barrett goes to the judges' scorecards. Frank's brother
And
Conor,
a very, very close one. Yeah.
joins him in the cage.
It's great to see actually in a lot of these fights they're very, very close, and it just kind of does. It is just testament really to the actual level of MMA that's on showcase here today.
100%. Like we saw.
Andrew Barrett has just been awarded the decision by the judges and will advance to the final to face Sullivan King Simon.
A very
Really tough
fighter.
one to lose though.
Yeah.
Left it all in there.
Might be in that third round. I might have done it for Andrew there. I mean, it was a really close fight. I'd be interested to see the scorecards there and that.
For sure.
But yeah, we're getting to see plenty of action today.
Fighter Nicholas Soley, was it there?
Yeah.
Just shown on screen, he's going to fight next week. I think there's about 30,000 SBG fights next week, so they're hard to keep up with.
No rest for the wicked.
But a big week for the gym at Bellator as Peter Queally, as he's strolling around cage side, he's got a massive fight next week.
I'm pretty sure it's his birthday.
Shout out to Peter Queally, the showstopper. As his protege Conor McCarthy gears up to enter the cage, and Conor is a fighter I'm really looking forward to seeing fight here now. Entering the cage in the blue. As Colin Maher now goes from cornerman to fighter.
Very quick turnaround.
The double Maher special, back to back.
And of course the winner of this one will take on the winner of Liam McGill versus Jordan Fury, which we have up after this fight.
Conor McCarthy comes from a boxing background, but he has a blue belt in BJJ, so he's been training. I was talking to him yesterday, he's been training for 3 years in MMA only, but he's been boxing since he was 14 or 15, 20 years old now. And he thinks that Fury and Maher will be the toughest tests in his division as they get underway. Colin Maher, landing a nice right hand.
That jab of Conor is just incredible.
And we know he has that KO power as well.
These lads are throwing.
Heavy shots. Oof.
I'm really liking the hands of Conor McCarthy here.
Can he stop this takedown is the big question.
Peter Queally in the corner for Conor McCarthy here. Looking for left wrist control. Kieran Davern in the corner for Colin Maher. And Colin has a wealth of experience. He's been competing in MMA since 2013, almost 10 years now.
He could have, like you could say, he could have gone pro with the considering the amount of time that he's been around. You wouldn't have been surprised.
Yeah.
But he's opted to stay amateur and compete at the nationals.
He spoke with that about me during the week, that it's just by chance that this came about and he hadn't turned pro yet. So it's obviously something that he's been considering.
There's a lot of experience specifically in this type of competition, this format.
Yeah.
3 competitions at the IMMAF, I believe. It was the 2016 Europeans, the 2017 and the 2019 Worlds.
Conor here really does need to start looking for an underhook and start turning Colin. He's taking some heavy knees there.
Just as you called for it, he looked for it there,
And this is smart by Colin,
Colin's
right?
head pressure, though.
With Conor coming from a boxing background and looking well on the feet there, he's using his experience here to bring the fight to his area of expertise.
Yeah, to nullify Conor's game as well, being in this close.
Very smart.
But at the moment, there's not a whole lot of action going on here at the cage.
Colin doing very well to keep him here against the cage.
Yeah.
What I'd like to see from Colin is a few shots from this position.
He's been landing good knees throughout the round.
Yeah.
A little bit of redness on that lead leg of Conor McCarthy there from those knees.
Looking for mount here.
And straight to the back.
Conor could use the cage here now to to try and get Colin off him. Very nice by Colin in fairness though. As I don't know if you noticed there, but the gym was absolutely silent.
Yeah.
Everyone is focusing on this fight here in front of us.
Big tension during this one. We had Colin earlier on the treadmill alongside us, trying to run off that last bit as he was cutting to make the weight. So if that was an issue, perhaps we'll see how his cardio holds up for these 3 rounds.
That's the thing with those daily weigh-ins, it forces fighters to actually stay close to the weight and fight at their natural weight as opposed to cutting weight.
Yeah, for sure.
As an amateur, you shouldn't be cutting weight anyway. There shouldn't be a need. On the day weigh-ins is probably, in my opinion, the way forward.
Yeah. The problem is, of course, that you're still going to get guys at a level that are going to cut a lot of water out, and they're at a high risk of brain damage if their brain doesn't hydrate in time.
About to get underway here for round 2 of Conor McCarthy versus Colin Maher. Conor in the yellow gloves with the blue trim, the blue rash guard, and Colin in the black rash guard and the red gloves.
Conor here now really does need to use his footwork a lot more, try and get in and out and just try to avoid any kind of takedown that Colin shoots for.
Landing some nice low kicks here, Conor McCarthy. A jab from Colin Maher splitting the guard of Conor McCarthy.
Very nice
1-2 from Conor McCarthy.
A lot of big winging punches, though. There isn't a whole lot straight down the middle.
Interesting seeing Colin here now. Hands are very low, and he gets a striker like Conor.
A lovely, like it. Two of Colin Maher's lead footweight from out there and allowed Colin McCarthy to land a flurry of strikes.
And some of those shots are hurting Colin even coming through the guard.
Yeah, Colin McCarthy's getting right on the feet here and he's landing some damaging shots.
Yeah.
He looks like he's found his groove on the feet now.
Yeah, and
absolutely. Some great one.
Very jab right there.
Nice
That was a
entry
very,
from
very smart level change. Looking for the takedown with Colin Maher.
Very nice takedown.
One hook in.
And you know, when we're talking about Conor McCarthy as an amateur prospect, you want to see him in these positions. You want to see him how his wrestling is
100%.
He told me that he's been working with Sergei Pakulski a lot every Friday night in the wrestling class, so training out of SPG Nace and also SPG Charleston as he pursues his studies in DCU.
Nice reversal with Conor though.
Yeah, he needs to again create the space here and go back to where he was winning this fight.
Yeah, he was landing some fantastic shots on the feet there, and if I was Conor here, I'd be looking to separate and get off some more punches.
And although Colin does have Conor against the cage here, you know, Conor's done well to resist the takedown attempts so far.
And he's certainly landed the more offense in this round.
Absolutely.
He needs to be careful here of a standing guillotine though.
Yeah, you would like. He's looking for the inside trip here. You would like for him to just try and disengage and get back to striking range.
10-second clapper goes.
There we go.
As he separates.
And another maybe slightly late throw there from Conor McCarthy. You can tell there's a bite to these fights today.
Yeah. Conor McCarthy looks the fresher of the two. Colin Maher gone back to his corner.
Yeah.
Hands against the cage. It looks like those shots are maybe starting to wear on him a little bit.
Could be that weight cut as well. I mean,
Grueling fight when you're up there working for the takedown. I know that Colin was doing it most of round one, and he got in there again for the majority of round two. Some heavy shots at the start of that round, but it is grueling. It does take a lot out of you, especially when you're trying over and over again to try and get the fight down, and you just can't make it happen. I mean, I think that Conor McCarthy had a good round two there, and it's shaping up nicely for round three here.
yeah, very, very close fight again. Like we've touched on this all day, but
we're getting to see plenty of action today anyway. I know we had a lot of quick finishes yesterday, but a lot of close, good fights as we would expect to see as the tournament progresses as well.
yeah.
I know we said yesterday there was a lot of grappling. Today we've actually had a lot more striking. This fight in particular, we've got some really good striking from Conor McCarthy in particular. That boxing's been incredible.
Yeah.
He's been piecing up that lead leg a little bit when he's had the chance.
Round three underway. And again, those low leg kicks from Conor McCarthy.
Be interested to see now if Conor looks to keep it on the feet a little bit more.
Conor had a nice jab, but Conor returned fire with the right hand.
Very well done.
And as you mentioned those winging shots earlier on, there was a bit of a loose shot there that allowed Colin to time that takedown.
He throws everything into almost every shot. Like he'd be well advised to take a little bit off them and work towards those big shots.
But at the same time, he has been landing, so...
And when you've got that one punch KO power, all it takes is one.
Colin doing very well to actually control the hands of Conor. Because what Conor really needs to do here now is try and put his hand on the ground and actually build up the base.
Yeah, he needs to post here, look to work the cage, try to get back to his feet. Can't accept this position here in round three. It's a close fight. He's going to have to try and get back to his feet or sweep.
He's doing well to regain his arm on the inside here. Very well done.
Again, Conor needs just to break away from it.
Disengage here. Big combination there from Conor. Colin did well to eat those.
Conor can't really accept his position. He needs to stand back up.
And you can tell the volume is turning up a small bit in this third round. Obviously both corners feel that the fight is very close.
For Conor here, you're going to want to try and separate here and get some of those shots off again.
And the fight, you'd imagine, is still certainly up for grabs for both. Very, very close fight.
Yeah, not really a whole lot of action for the last, say, minute or
I mean, if you are counting just based on the scoring criteria, you have to imagine that Connor's edged that third round.
Definitely, he did the more damage of the two.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you can say the same really throughout the fight. I think Connor landed the more damaging shots throughout.
Yeah, there's definitely the striking exchanges here that won in the fight. A couple of big shots landed. I'm interested to see who takes it. Another close fight, another good fight.
I have to say, though, I do think it's very smart by Colin just coming in and scrapping. I mean, as Paul, as you said there now, he did struggle to make weight this morning, so that obviously did affect his cardio, but with the grappling, he stayed out of Connor's range of strikes and just stayed on his back, trying to avoid punishment.
Referee Paul Brown's about to announce the winner. Oh,
and we have Colin Maher announced for the victory.
I have to say, I'm a bit surprised by that result. I was not expecting that one. I'd be interested to see which rounds were given.
Yeah. Very, very close fight though. Like with those ones, it's hard to be confident going into those that when all three rounds are close, certainly that it's going to go either way.
And look, it is very difficult to judge a fight from Cage side, but I guess to your point earlier on where you were saying, when they're in those advantageous positions, scorecards can go.
They can be skewed a little bit,
I was certainly expecting, at least watching from this position, I'd maybe need to go back and watch it again, but I had that for Conor McCarthy based on the damage he inflicted.
I can't help but agree, but I can imagine Colin Maher is very happy to get the decision after 2-3 years out now.
Yeah.
So a success return for him and a chance to become national champion tomorrow.
And of course he will be taking on the winner of this fight. We had Liam McGill versus Jordan Fury on deck, and we saw Liam McGill yesterday, a very dominant performance over Ethan Guerin. And Jordan Fury is making his debut this weekend in the tournament. But of course Jordan Fury, we know, is 5-0 with 5 stoppage finishes, so one of the hot prospects coming into this weekend.
Yeah, really looking forward to seeing Jordan in here today, and it'll be interesting to see how he gets on.
Mm-hmm. Jordan Fury has looked phenomenal so far in his amateur career. His very first fight, I think he potentially retired a fighter. So his opponent had one amateur fight. He got badly hurt.
Retired on the
stool, and he hasn't fought since.
Yeah.
Liam McGill had a good win yesterday. This should be a good fight.
Liam McGill landed some beautiful straight shots yesterday as well. His striking looked fantastic.
And we see it there again. He landed that jab. That's a big inside leg kick.
And that's Jordan Fury with the red trim on his gloves, and Liam McGill with the blue trim with the red gloves.
And we have Liam shooting for the takedown first.
Needs to be careful of the guillotine here as well.
Yeah, Jordan is looking to get under that neck. Well, he was.
And we saw in Jordan's last fight, I think it was in Clan Wars, where he got the knockdown and then cinched up a triangle. So he definitely has some submission skills also. But Liam McGill is doing well here too.
Yeah. And MMA Cork do have that wrestling base. They drill their wrestling over and over again, day in, day out. And they just follow from attempt to attempt to attempt. It's chain wrestling at its finest.
Liam McGill has his hands clinched there, so we'll be looking to get the double leg there now. Maybe the body lock.
Defended brilliantly there by Jordan.
do think Liam has to be small but careful. He's keeping a very, very high intensity for this first round, and he does have two more rounds to go.
Yeah. And of course, had 2 tough rounds yesterday as well.
Yeah.
It's worth noting.
Very nice from Russell. In the half guard, I'd like to see him posture up here and start landing strikes.
And you can see Jordan immediately looking to land.
He's got to watch him pushing off that cage there.
This is the difference, right? When you get to these advantageous positions, you have to be landing.
And he has that arm trap now as well. There could be some big.
We've seen a lot of pressure here today. We've seen a lot of dominant positions. But it's these types of shots that are going to fight.
They're showing theirs. That's a good back. 6-0 with 6 finishes in his ME career so far. I mean, the guy looks unstoppable, and that'll be an interesting final again tomorrow against Maher.
And the thing about this is, when you're looking at amateur fighters, you want to be seeing them in uncomfortable positions. And McGill was getting the better of Jordan Fury for a little bit there in the grappling department, and he was able to overcome that and ultimately get the first round stoppage yet again.
Yeah, Jordan Fury looked great there. He had a bit of an adversity at the start of the round, but when he landed on top, like Andy said, you know, the important thing to do there is just posture up, land those big shots. If they don't finish the fight, they're going to get to the round. They're the scoring shots that the judges want to see when the fight gets down to the mat. And it was an excellent performance by Jordan there. Has a real bright future ahead of him, and that should be a good final tomorrow.
For sure.
He's going to be the much fresher fighter going into tomorrow now.
Yeah.
For sure.
You know,
he had a tough fight tonight. Yeah, it's going to be.
Are we on to our last fight?
We're second. All that's left is the 2 middleweight semi-finals. So up on deck now we've Daniel Sullivan against Tristan Barnett. Of course, we saw Barnett yesterday. Very dominant performance. And the winner of this will take on our next fight. The winner of our next fight, Cameron Clemmons versus Brian Manning.
I'm looking forward to this fight now, especially after seeing Tristan yesterday. You know, Daniel looked very dominant in his first fight in the IMMAFs.
Yeah.
You know, he came up against Fergus Jenkins, and you know, who didn't get beaten by Fergus Jenkins.
Fergus Jenkins was one of the standouts of that World Championships, yes.
Eventual winner of the middleweight bracket as well, Fergus Jenkins was, so it's no shame to be to lose to someone like Fergus Jenkins. And I agree with Andy. I think Daniel was very impressive in the tournament. I'm looking forward to getting a look at him again today, and as was Tristan yesterday. He was very good.
Yeah, and Tristan impressed me yesterday because we all knew about the kickboxing and the K1 background, but to get that submission in the style that he did yesterday showed off that it's not just a kickboxer coming in there with basic grappling skills. He's got a well-rounded game. So
Lee Hammond in his corner. I was speaking with Lee yesterday, and he was saying that himself and Tristan work a lot together. So Tristan, coming from a kickboxing background, will help Lee with his striking, and Lee vice versa will help him with his grappling. And it shows, to be honest, for both of them. If you saw Lee Hammond's pro debut, that was a striking masterclass.
Yeah. But certainly an interesting prospect here, and going in against the number 1 seed Daniel O'Sullivan in his second fight.
Tristan Barnett in the blue rash guard with the red trim in his gloves. And Daniel Sullivan in the SPG Killarney rash guard in the purple.
Straight into the action.
Touch of gloves.
And I would imagine expect to see a takedown attempt here early enough from Dan O'Sullivan.
Southpaw versus orthodox here.
Dan switches it up from time to time, though. He's comfortable enough in the orthodox position as well.
Oh, first strike.
You see, he's back to orthodox. He didn't like that kick.
Tristan circling well.
Yeah.
Tristan looking very sharp on the feet.
Dan is doing the right thing by crowding. This is where Dan wants to fight. And you kind of have to get yourself into danger to get into this position.
Tristan doing the same as he was doing yesterday. He was showing very crisp striking yesterday. Almost everything that he was throwing was landing.
Tristan is doing well here with a knee to push that away from him.
He seems to be the much bigger man as well, Tristan, than this.
Back again with that knee shield again.
And we've Liam Morgan, Fiona Rourke there giving advice to Dan in the corner. Fiona Rourke, he's 17 years old, a bit of a wrestling savant from SPG Cork City.
For Dan here, you'd want to try and hook the leg maybe and try to get a sweep down or drop down for a double or a single leg here.
Tristan doing well here to get limbs back.
He's got that separation.
Dan needs to be careful of that head kick because that does.
He timed that last one well. The volume has gone all the way up in SVG HQ for Tristan Barnett.
I'm not going to lie, I can't hear a word anyone is saying here. The crowd is going nuts.
Tristan got his foot again here.
And he's looking for that triangle again.
Dan looking to step over. Save for the bell.
That was very close at the end of the round.
Yeah.
It really is reaching fever pitch here in SPG, isn't it?
It was the same yesterday when Tristan walked out. There was a lot of commotion, so he seems to be one of the home team favourites.
A solid first round from Tristan there. Did well to defend the takedown, was close with the triangle and landed some really crisp shots at the start of the round as well. Looks real good on the mat and on the feet as well. I mean, yeah, very impressed with Tristan and Dan is going to have to try and figure that out in round two coming in here. I think he's down one round.
And showing again that he has that, he's dangerous off his back. Yesterday wasn't just a one-off, he can throw up that triangle from anywhere.
I mean, if you're Tristan coming into round two here, you're going to be expecting Dan to come in for the takedown as well. You want to be looking for those knees coming in, some uppercuts coming in, or even showing the knee or showing the uppercut to try and deter Dan from going for that takedown.
The one thing with the knee though, it's dangerous to be throwing them out there when a guy's going for a takedown, because you can get DQ'd from a knee to the head. Or a big leg hold.
You can see Tristan is threatening that uppercut when Dan tries to come in.
Yeah. But again, Dan is doing what he needs to do here, crowding. And that looked like a knee to the head.
That was a lovely knee as Daniel tried to time the entry.
Yeah.
Very nice takedown by Dan. Looking to take round. Again, needs to be careful of that triangle. Tristan is very good at joining up.
Yeah.
And Daniel Sullivan right up against his corner here.
Yeah. And this is exactly where Dan wants this fight.
Tristan has one foot in the hip.
And he's going for it again.
If you're Tristan Barnett here, do you want to be going for, say, a triangle or looking to get back to your feet? And
he's looking that cage 2 or 3 times now to work towards the armbar, but the ref has pulled it away once, and he has that position again. And he's going to come out the side there, I would imagine. Seems to be on the wrong side.
Tristan is in a very dangerous position, so is Dan.
Gary Rooney and Kearney and screaming. Tristan Barnett trying to direct him.
We've done now a north-south position.
The ref has work cut out from here with the adjustments of the cage and the feet.
He's using any little advantage you can get against that cage there.
Dan now inside control.
It's from here now. You'll be hoping that for Dan to go to work and actually try and land some strikes or look for a submission and get some.
Really needs to start landing strikes here.
I know that Tristan's comfortable looking for that triangle, but I think that he needs to get to his feet here.
He's going to need to go. Tristan is looking to turn over to his back.
These are big, heavy strikes. The ref will be looking closely at this.
Tristan's back's pinned on that here.
Dan can get the stoppage here.
I see the left side of the finish. Dan needs to work out. We've only got 10 seconds left.
And it could be saved by the bell.
Tristan is a little bit looking to get to the end there.
Yeah.
Both lads there saved by the bell.
We're certainly looking at one round apiece anyway. I think that's fairly definitive.
Definitely.
Yeah. You know, Tristan looked good in the guard throwing up that triangle in round one, but once he got into the when he's on the bottom when Dan was in mount position, he didn't look too comfortable there at all, and was kind of lucky. He needs to be pushing down on one of the legs of Dan to try and get back into half guard rather than just try and defend punches. He needs to better improve his position if he does find himself in mount. That fight was close to being stopped towards the end. Tristan landed some good shots at the start of the round. I said he was going to threaten with the uppercut, threaten with the knee, and he did that, but Dan dropped down lovely for a double leg, and that was kind of the turning point of the round. When he moved into mount, he was in well control.
One thing I thought Dan does well now in this fight is actually grab Tristan's leg and goes for kicks. That's one of his best ways to get an entry into a takedown.
Yeah. And we know he has a kick-heavy game.
Yeah.
Both guys feeling a little bit.
All the fight for round three here. Big round three coming up.
Yeah.
If you're Tristan Barnett, surely you want to keep this on the feet now also.
Tristan Barnett looks like he's pretty tired now.
He does. Dan Sullivan certainly looks the fresher, and you can see it in his shots.
Very easy takedown there.
Dan needs to be careful with the guard here again now.
He stepped into half guard, which I think Dan will be comfortable to work from for a while.
Yeah. Dan again though shouldn't be comfortable here now. He should be looking to move around here. He does. This is very dangerous now for Tristan.
And you're right in what you're saying. He did look very fatigued at the start of the round.
Yeah.
Dan looking for the neck here. Tristan Barnett is in a lot of danger here. He needs to move. But Dan is just bringing his own shots in here. I'll take a look, coach. I think we'll see this stop momentarily if this continues. Because right now, Tristan is
that's a lot of unanswered strikes.
Dan needs to keep going here if he wants to finish this fight.
Dar is giving him every opportunity to kind of work his way out of this one.
Tristan trying to use the cage here to alter the position somehow.
He needs to work into half guard here, push down on Dan's legs.
And using his toes again.
Or turn and give his back up and try and try get out of it that way. It's just not working for him. I think that Dan is too high into full mount here. He's not going to be able to push him off.
I think another big flurry here and this one will be stopped.
Tristan, he's been given every opportunity here, but
look at the flat now. This is a very dangerous position here. I think Dan has a handcuff.
Dan to just start raining down punches here now.
Dan here looking for a handcuff, looking to control the hands and slide strikes.
Tristan's done well to survive here, but ultimately this is a dominant round. We'll be looking at a 10-8.
certainly. Yeah.
Nice work.
And you imagine Tristan is going to hope for something, a bit of a miracle here with less than a minute left in the fight.
Daniel Sullivan is beginning to tee off. Fantastic performance in round 3 from Daniel Sullivan.
And Dan looks emotional. Both guys gave it absolutely everything in that fight.
Yeah, great fight. I think, Dan really used his grappling well in rounds 2 and rounds 3, and will probably comfortably take the decision here. And I mean, it was a great fight overall.
Yeah,
and you don't like to see fighters taking damage like that, but I think a fight like that for Tristan Barnett will really stand to him in time. He looked a little bit lost and a little bit fatigued. When you've got a guy the size of Daniel Sullivan on top of you, raining down strikes, that's a very uncomfortable position to be in. So we learn from this. He's still very young.
Interesting to see how confident he was inside his own guard, but as soon as he was outside of that position on bottom, he like you said, he did seem a little bit lost for what to do.
And maybe it was just a fatigue, but
that could come with experience.
Dan came in here as a fresher fighter. Obviously, Tristan was fighting yesterday too, so he was able to put on that pace in the fight as well, and it was a grueling pace. And it's not nice when someone's on top of you in full mount and down punches, but ultimately it was. The grappling advantage went to Dan there, and trying to defend that is very tiring as well. So we'll see Tristan back again for sure. A very good fighter.
And of course, Dan will take on the winner of our final fight of the day. We have Cameron Clemmons versus Brian Manning coming up on deck now very shortly. And it's our first look at Cameron Clemmons this weekend.
Brian looked very strong yesterday.
Very dominant, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Powerful shots.
I feel as well yesterday, we discussed it, he was holding a little bit back. There was times where he could have gone in for the finish but didn't, and maybe that's because of the format. He didn't want to risk anything big, but
I thought the third round there was plenty of opportunities that he could have finished it, but he was happy to get the decision.
Yeah. He seemed comfortable throughout regardless, And of course our first look at Cameron Clemmons, who somewhat kind of underwhelmed, I suppose, in the Worlds, but that's just based on how phenomenal he's looked up to that point.
But did you see who he came up against?
That's true as well, yeah. I mean, easy to say from my seat.
The same guy went down to beat Murad Gusanov, and it's this guy took out the same guy that beat Cameron has taken out one of the best amateurs that's been around. So
very true.
Two big lads in the middleweight division.
Two very big guys, And Brian Manning in the prep point. Of course, he had that win yesterday over Ross O'Brien. Our only decision victory yesterday. Of course, we've had multiple decision and multiple close fights today.
This will be a tough one for the people at home to watch here now. We've got red rash guard and red rash guard.
So in the red corner you have Brian Manning, the blue corner there on screen, that is Cameron Clemmons.
Final fight of the day.
And Cameron coming out, a lot of movement early. Feinting, changing level, trying to give Brian something to worry about.
I think he might be looking for a reaction here.
Yeah.
Very frenetic start here for two middleweights.
Ooh. And he is going for that takedown. And he's persisted here to get very well done by Brian.
And Cameron shoots again.
And that he shot naked there, and you'd have to worry, like he's going to have to set them up with strikes. And again, he's ducky under like he's going to shoot naked again.
He if you look at his fights, though, he does like to get that takedown and start landing a ground and pound from there.
Oof, big right hand. Pawed off by Brian, but...
Nice job.
Big straight
Stand lands there, yeah. Brian looking very composed again today.
And again, very patient. He really is.
Using his jab quite well here today.
Yeah. And you notice the difference in the movement. Brian seems to be just very light on his toes and bouncing. But that ankle pick for Cameron.
Brian did well though to work his way back to the fence.
Yeah.
Needs to be careful mount here though.
Straight into mount. And as you said about the ground and pound, we know he can be devastating here.
This is where he wanted this fight. You could tell. This is where he does his best work.
Mm-hmm. He's got the handcuff as well, yeah.
This is a bad spot here for Brian Manning. Cameron just teeing off here.
And the ref just kind of warned him there. I think he was holding onto the glove. That's under the chin. And we have a tap. Very well done from Cameron Clemmons.
He got the fight down, and once he did, he went to work. And yeah, I think that Brighton's doing quite well. He was using his jab well. His takedown defence is good, but
very light in his toes as well. Yeah,
very light on his performance from Cameron Clemmons. You know, coming out of the round there, Brian was landing his jab, as you said, Ian, very well to get that level change and take it to the mat.
But I mean, to persist from the ankle pick, because Brian did very well to butt scoot right back to the cage quickly. To persist and get into mount from there just shows a drive.
Yeah, Cameron didn't give up on his takedown attempts. No, he was unsuccessful, but he didn't give up, and obviously it paid off in the end. And it was a very, very good performance from Cameron. And that'll be an interesting battle tomorrow now with Dan.
Yeah, for sure. Both looking to grapple.
Yeah, I see Cameron now will be coming in a lot fresher now. Only having to go the one round after a very tough fight for Dan. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays a factor tomorrow. Second submission victory in the career of Cameron Clemmons so far. Also by rear naked choke.
So we have all our finalists tomorrow set. But that does conclude today's action for fighting. Phenomenal day. The boys ended up joining us for the whole day. There was no sign of Raz or Andy came along. So
after all his talk about Keith Keogh, he doesn't even show up for It's terrible.
It was great to be on with everybody today, and got to see some great fights. I mean, plenty of action there, lots of decisions,
and we got to see a lot
fights.
more of everyone today, I think.
Absolutely.
Really sets us up for a great final day as well, with the finals taking place tomorrow.
For sure, and of course, kicking off today tomorrow, we have the 3 women's finals, so it'll be our first look at the women's divisions tomorrow.
There's some fantastic fights there tomorrow. Really looking that the senior bantamweight final between Byrne and Sinead Mulan.
That's a very close striker grappler.
I call that a striker versus striker. Sinead with a very, very good striking background. Kerry, who looks unbelievable on the field as well. I think that could be fantastic.
I imagine Sinead will be looking for the takedown in that one, just purely based on it. They're both great strikers, but I think Kerry has that, which is very rare in that division, but she does have that KO power.
Yeah, she's the range as well, which should make a bit of a difference. But I've seen Sinead fight against these kind of long strikers before as well, and she does handle them, which makes it quite interesting, because it's kind of like it could end up just being a clash of strikers, and we could have a really high-level kickboxing match.
Hopefully that's the case anyway. We are going to shut up shop for today, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. Thanks Ian O'Neill, thanks Queel to the Barra, and thanks Andy Stevenson for joining the
Check out the Owl Triangle podcast. Check out the Owl Triangle podcast, Severe MMA and all podcast platforms. Thanks for having us on today, Bob.
Ultimate
just
plug.
A shame that
get that
if you
plug
didn't hear
in.
That's the Owl Triangle. Subscribe on all good audio platforms.
Again, thanks very much for joining us, guys, and we will see you again tomorrow. You'll be calling into us again tomorrow, so thanks again, guys, and we'll see you again early tomorrow, 9:30 we'll be live again. Thank you very much.